So this is the apartment right here. 2-bedroom. The kids couldn't ride their bikes or nothing because the cars used to come in this parking lot in and out really fast. So I always would be on the edge. My light bill used to be so high. Air used to come through these doors like no tomorrow. This used to be my garden right here. I used to plant my tomatoes right there, that little spot right there. Did you remember living here?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
You want to come back here?
No.
Yep, this is my little baby girl. The only girl I got. You know she's spoiled. Yeah. Are you spoiled?
No.
I know. You're my little girl.
This is one of our last participants, man. And this is a house that was built from the ground up. All right, him and his family of 3, man. So they're doing extremely well. And this is why we do this, man. This is the reason why. It's about seeing folks get what they want and knowing that they worked hard to do it. And it wasn't just given to them, you know what I mean?
I'm Gordon Simpson, and this is my first time purchasing a house, which was the hardest thing I ever encountered. But I love this house, I love the land, and it's a lot of work, but every project is joyful to do.
Oh, I'm a coach? You're gonna call me a coach? Okay. My name is Anthony Wright, and I work for ESR, and I'm the IDA Success Coach. IDA stands for Individual Development Account, and I'm the person that helps the folks stay within their budgets and make sure that they can grab their asset at the end of the program, which is either home ownership or a small business.
So the IDA program it started out of a guy, a professor at the University of Washington, and he came up with the idea that low-income people could save, and if they could save, they could build assets, and the assets would go into wealth.
What we do at ESR is that we make sure that we start them off with financial literacy, because we believe that's the key to being able to maintain a house or asset.
The best thing that hit me about the program was they taught me how to budget. That I'm still budgeting. From back 3 years ago to now, it's paying off. I still pay budgeting. We still have savings from 3 years ago from budgeting.
The North Carolina Housing Finance Agency, which is the agency for all of North Carolina, came up with about 20, 25 years ago with a down payment assistance program. That comes in the form of a second mortgage. We call it a soft second because it just sits there. That sits there and no interest accrues on it until after 30 years, they're asked to pay that money back.
All right, you want 1 or 2 pancakes? My name is Stephanie. I am from Winston-Salem, born and raised. I am a single mom, and I'm currently working 2 jobs. My mom was a single mom because my father had passed away. We had a roof over our head, and we did have food, and we did have clothes. We had the necessities met. It's just with money, though, it was, it was an abundant environment to kind of sit down and talk about money and managing it.
And a lot of times in the Black community, it's just not talked about. Like the parents just don't talk about, we don't talk about finances to our children.
When I got into the program, I felt like I was an adult. I felt like I was finally making an important decision for my life and for my daughter.
How old are you?
4.
You're 5.
4.
You're 8. You're 8. I was raised up in Harlem, New York, and I wanted better for my children than I have, don't we all? If I haven't did anything right, this is one thing I can say I did right, preparing for my children's future. Damn, that's good, Benny. Let's try to read that, Abigail.
And so much for the children, you got to feel proud as a parent. No one's ever owned a home in our family. I'm going to be the first, and hopefully my kids are going to be the second, third, or whatever. It's got to be very scary when you barely can pay your bills, you're having issues here and there. To dream a dream of owning your own home has got to be a big dream.
I calculated it's anywhere from $45,000 to $55,000 that I've spent on rent. It's a mix of frustration and anger. At the end of it all, I have really nothing to show for it.
How's everything with you?
Good.
All right. I know with the classes that you just had now, you just had the preparing for home ownership. All right, and is there anything that you didn't quite get with that class, or what was your understanding, or what did you get from that?
I just really got the process of how the program works.
Absolutely.
Which was a lot of clarity for me, because it kind of put 2 and 2 together inside my head to show me, you know, how it goes.
Got you.
And how all the puzzle pieces fit together.
Okay.
Here's how the program works for an imaginary participant named Dee. Dee is a working mom in a family of 4, earning $50,000 per year. Dee teams up with a success coach at ESR and works on budgeting and credit while saving $2,000 into her IDA account. Dee also completes homebuyer education workshops at the Center for Homeownership. City and county grants kick in another $2,000 to $4,000 for closing costs. Dee can now qualify for an interest and payment-free second mortgage of up to $30,000 through state and local government agencies. After finding a house, Dee uses savings, grants, and loans to purchase her first home affordably. The soft second mortgage is paid back when Dee has paid off her 30-year mortgage or if she sells or refinances her home.
Let's be honest, right? 9 months we've been doing budgets. We've been looking at your debt. We've been looking at your income. We're looking at everything that comes in and what's going out, right? This is not gonna stop. This is not something that you just doing it to get the house.
Right.
And then after that, I'm good, I ain't gonna budget no more. Absolutely not. Your
Right.
goal is to win. Your goal is to be a homeowner.
Right. I've never looked at my money so much. Like, sometimes I smile, sometimes I cry.
And it's supposed to. But yeah, you usually do pretty decent on your budget, so you put money in your ID. Okay, so you got your personal savings up too now.
Yeah.
Go.
I got a little nest egg, actually.
Definitely.
I got 3
That's what I'm
accounts,
talking
so.
about. But see, these are the things I'm talking about, though, right? I tell everybody in the program, just like you want personal time for yourself, right? And you take personal time to do certain things for you. Y'all sit in a hair salon for 6 hours to get your hair done.
Yeah.
But won't take an hour to look at your budget.
Ooh.
My wife's the same way. My wife used to do the same thing until we got on the same page.
Yeah.
And know how we did it? At IHOP. Hey, girl.
Open just a business meeting at IHOP.
Hey, girl. Right? You see, you gotta get creative with it, right? So that's how we did it. Saturday, she at IHOP, I'm at IHOP.
Yeah,
Yep.
eating,
You
doing
got what we
numbers.
doing for the mortgage? Okay, what we doing? Now, just like you said, you ain't never thought about money so much in your life.
I never looked at
since
it.
you've been doing this, right?
You know, they told me the rent's gonna go up if I renew.
Yeah.
It's gonna go up anywhere from $150 to $200.
So that's the economy. It's gonna happen, right? But don't we gotta adjust our stuff to the economy?
That's true. Yep.
We gotta adjust. I can't tell you guys a cookie cutter way to just go follow this way and you'll be all right.
Yeah.
But you're doing excellent though. I just like the way you're breaking this stuff down. You're definitely on the right track. Definitely.
There's a long history of discrimination, and most people know that. You know, African Americans were not allowed to build in certain neighborhoods or to buy a home in certain neighborhoods. That there were certain neighborhoods they could go to, but they could not stray from those. And if they did, they could be arrested or, you know, it was a situation that white families had never had to worry about this, but black families always did. If you want to have a house, you were limited to certain neighborhoods.
Despite the fact that there was a law that ensured the same rights to own properties, municipalities were working to upend that law and to make sure that African Americans didn't have the same rights to own property. And not only that, but to ensure that communities were segregated. Well, this is pretty stunning. I mean, this headline that talks about a public meeting that was attended by 200 people, where folks pushed to make sure that Winston-Salem remained segregated. Winston wasn't unique in this ordinance in its attempt to ensure that segregation continued. Segregation was the standard in the United States at the time, and cities all across the nation were pushing the same types of policies that would keep white people and black people living in separate neighborhoods.
The Board of Aldermen at that time put in the ordinance, and then it took very courageous African Americans to come out, like George Penn and then William Darnell. They ended up having to take it all the way to North Carolina's Supreme Court, and then it was actually reversed, and he was allowed to keep his property. But it was very important to have these courageous African Americans in our community to fight these original segregation ordinances.
I don't want to rent anymore. Meeting with Anthony has been tough and inspiring and frustrating all at the same time. You know, I was telling him that it's extremely hard to change like patterns. You know, I've used budgets before, but somehow it's just the repetition of staying on top of it. And I wasn't doing that before. I was just spending like I had it, and honestly, I didn't have it. So I had to grow up and say, okay, you know, I'm wasting money in all these apartments. I don't have any space. Nothing's mine. You know, I have my daughter, and I just really need to get in a place where, you know, something is mine. So, and something that I can pass down even, you know, build that foundation and start that legacy.
I don't know exactly how I met Craig, but I think it was going to some meetings and stuff over at Winston-Salem State. We were so intrigued by what he was doing. Nobody had ever had the time or the money to sit down and try to say, is the IDA program working or not?
My name is Craig Richardson. I'm an economics professor at Winston-Salem State University, and I'm the director of the Center for the Study of Economic Mobility.
Hey, Craig, good to see you.
Hey, good to see you too.
Come on in.
The Center for the Study of Economic Mobility is a center that's really aimed at trying to understand why Forsyth County, North Carolina, is one of the lowest counties in the entire country in terms of getting people up and out of poverty.
I actually asked him a lot of things. What can you provide for us? Because what we need is somebody with no dog in the fight to evaluate our program. We need to know what we're doing that's working, what we're doing that's not working. Are they doing better off? How much value is their house now versus what it was? You know, I wanted everything.
I met up with Dan Cornelis, who started telling me about 800 notebooks. And these notebooks chronicled stories about homeowners who'd gone through the IDA program. And Dan told me that the county had never had the resources to study this, to do the economic analysis. And so I thought right away, this could be a role for CSEM. He was very excited about that idea. And so with my colleague, Zach Blizzard, over the next 6 months, we investigated the story behind these notebooks. CSEM has always prided itself for being nonpartisan, for really letting the data lead the way to our answers. We didn't get paid by the county because we didn't want any conflict of interest. One of the questions that we wanted to ask was, how do we close this historic wealth gap between blacks and whites? How successful was this program, and what was the return on investment to the county? Nationally, white families have about 10 times more wealth than black families. And what happens over time is that household wealth is typically passed on to the next generation. If we have those big disparities, it means there's going to be gaps between blacks and whites that are going to persist across generations. And it's going to be much harder for black families to ever catch up.
I pledge myself to a new deal for the American people.
In 1938, the Homeowners Loan Corporation was created as part of the New Deal under FDR. They hired hundreds of people to go out to cities and communities. And what they were to do is to designate them to say whether we should give loans to this area or we shouldn't give loans, are these in good shape? They had a whole list of criteria that they would go down. They were in categories by A, B, C, and D. A's were always, this is a great place to live, big houses. B's were still a nice place to live. You know, they were the second tier. And they were typically white, and they would say that. Then you get to the C's and then the D's. Typically, this is where you would find them described that African Americans or blacks would live in these areas. This is not a great place to give people loans. So then your investment was going toward A and B land, but C and D land, people wanted to stay away from.
You know, the ultimate effect of a redlining policy like this, when the government says this is a good neighborhood and this is a bad neighborhood, is that a company that is providing insurance or that is providing loans and trying to figure out what its risk level is will decide, well, in this area with this red line around it, we're not going to make loans or offer insurance because it's too risky. Ultimately, this policy ends up, through the redlining concept, making it almost impossible for African Americans to own housing at the same rate as white residents here in Winston-Salem, but also this, of course, is a national policy, so it happens all across the nation. Right. Los Angeles, Detroit, New York, Chicago, New Orleans, my own hometown, all of these cities were redlined. And when you visit most of these cities and you look at housing patterns, you see that African Americans still live in neighborhoods that were considered African American under these maps, and white residents still live in neighborhoods that were majority white per these maps.
The African American community has never recovered from that. Lenders wouldn't even lend money in certain neighborhoods. So that they had all that going, and it has gotten better, but it's been a handicap that has stuck for a long, long time, and it's very hard to overcome at this point in time. One of the things that when we decided for home ownership, we wanted to be people to buy wherever they want to buy. And so it gives some choice.
It's a garage, upstairs, downstairs. That's what I like about them. It's just, they're homey. There's a pool here, I'm pretty sure, like, there's a pool house. And
Like those stones. I like the ones with like stones or bricks on them.
oh yeah, brick is always my top pick. You know, nice paved driveway. I'm all for it. You know, you come and the sun is just right, and you see someone running down the street or walking the dog or walking with the stroller, and it's just like a safe spot.
Look at Benny go. Come on. Look at Benny go. The neighborhood where I'm living at is really nice. We don't have traffic, so my stress factor went down like zoom. I am so grateful. When I pull off of the main road and we're coming down here, I say, thank you, Jesus, we're going home. At night out here, I come out here and it's nothing but stars. I can see the stars now because not the lights, you know, from the city, fresh air and stuff. I'm also from New York. We got deer out here. So I'm always looking for the wildlife, you know. Ooh, what is that? You know, close the door quick, it's a deer coming, you know.
August of the hottest summer on record, I heard a loud noise, and I checked the thermometer on the air conditioner, and it was stuck at like 81. And the temperature just kept rising and rising and rising. And the maintenance guy came. He noticed that the pipe was frozen and it needed a new fan and all this work needed to get done. But he said, oh, well, you know, we probably can't get back out to fix it until Tuesday of next week. So we couldn't sleep, we couldn't relax, we could not cook because that would add to the heat. So I ended up having to go to a hotel. And that was an expense that I didn't really expect.
Okay, I'll let you know. I'll call you. It'll probably be another 15, 20 minutes. All right, thanks. Bye-bye.
I think I'm gonna have to get on our VPN in order for it to. Let's go to the original one we had.
Okay, can y'all see my screen?
Hey.
Okay. I'm gonna turn it over to Dan Cornelis, Bianca Greene, and Aisha Carter.
Good afternoon, everybody. We have retitled this The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly of Debt for Home and Business. And I'm going to be speaking about some stuff, the good debt and the bad debt and so forth. And Bianca is going to assist. And so, first of all, I want to congratulate you on coming so far already.
Yes.
I know you've been a good class. I've heard good things about you, that you guys are getting ready to be a homeowner. So we're so proud of you, and you are the ones that make it work. And so the whole process for the IDA program is for you to start, decreasing your debt, increasing your income if you can, and, get yourself more mortgage ready. A home mortgage can be a good debt and a bad debt. And why is that, Bianca?
Well, based upon the type of financing that's obtained, if it's not affordable, that wouldn't be considered a good debt. If it's predatory as far as the interest rate and the terms for that mortgage, that's not a good debt.
You'll be qualified because of all the hard work you're doing. You'll pay the same amount every month except for your taxes and insurance. So it's a debt or a loan that will really serve you well.
Yes.
And during this period of time, while that's happening, your house will start being paid off, but also you'll see some appreciation in your house. So should we move on to bad debt, B?
Yeah, let's talk about the bad.
Give us some samples of bad debt, folks.
Hey, I got one. Can I go ahead and throw one out there?
Okay, B, go ahead.
Co-signing for Uncle Joe.
Oh, Uncle Joe. He gets more people in trouble than anybody, doesn't he?
Yeah, co-signing for Uncle Joe might be a bad debt. Especially if Uncle Joe doesn't pay that debt, or if something happens to Uncle Joe.
So over the years in the IDA program, we've had some folks come in and we'll talk to them about this debt that they didn't really realize they have. So I would say if you're gonna help, was it Cousin Fred or Uncle Fred?
Joe.
Uncle Joe.
Yeah.
If you're gonna help Uncle Joe, you might as well just put your name on it. Because in the bottom line, at least it would be deeded to you. Here, you'd be making payments for is it Uncle Joe again? Uncle Joe's gone and you can't find him, so he may have taken your asset, he may have taken your car, and you're making payments and he's some other place enjoying his car.
Yeah.
So I think we've always discouraged people from co-signing for their kids or for some relative or so forth. So that's a good one, B.
My credit is clean. My score is 825. And I'm not even using credit now because I'm still on that budget. I got like 4 credit cards, 0, 0, 0, 0. But if I need something, it's there.
We already know that the upfront cost of the county is so small at $2,000. After that point, people are on their way. They have had a year to learn how to budget. They've had a year to learn how to save, and they become independent tax-paying individuals who are now acquiring equity on their own. They are moving independently through life, and they're not looking back.
America as we know it, I think, is really a product of the GI Bill. It's this period after World War II where we see tens of millions of dollars of loans that make home ownership reality for veterans returning from war. But there were a number of tactics, actually, that made it almost impossible for Black veterans to use the GI Bill. The GI Bill was structured so that the Veteran Administration was supporting the loans, but not actually making the loans. Banks were making the loan. And so it still meant that an African-American veteran had to go to usually a white-owned bank and get a loan. And generally, they were turned down. So you have this incredible opportunity, but unfortunately, because of segregation and because of mostly local policies, African-American veterans aren't able to take advantage and aren't able to buy into home ownership in the same way that white veterans are.
So after the 1930s and FDR's New Deal programming, we started moving into the 40s, into the 50s. The federal government created what we all know now today as urban renewal programming. Here in Winston-Salem, we agreed to take part of it early on, but we really never got funds, until the later 50s. there was a need to start cleaning up some of these areas because there was no investment in them. So the programming that would come in is kind of this raised earth theory. Let's just get rid of it. And so they would clear lands and clear homes, and they would clear the places that people called home for decades. So that commercial business center that we would see down by Reynolds factories and things like that, that were just for the African-American communities, by the 1960s and 70s was being cleared.
The planning board certified this ugly block as a renewal area to start from the ground up. It became known as the Church Street Project. Down came the Lincoln Theater and other eyesores.
They took away homes, and what they put back was less residential homes, and a lot of them were apartment buildings. So then they lost the opportunity to own a piece of America. Another part of the urban renewal projects that people don't really realize was the transportation part and creating highways.
When I have a conversation with anyone about race in Winston-Salem, it doesn't matter if they're white or if they're African-American, people will always bring up Highway 52. East of 52 is the African-American community, and west of 52 is where white residents live.
If you cross 52 on the east side, you're going to find an area where census tracts have family income of $15,000 a year, where we have one of the fastest growing concentrations of poverty, according to a 2014 Brookings report. This side of Winston-Salem is often hidden from many people who've lived here their entire life. There's a lot of urgency for programs like this to start to bridge those gaps that have been caused by historical discrimination, that have been caused by urban renewal projects that cleave the city in two. This is one way to create a bridge to financial prosperity that has not been in place until this program. So we came in not with the objective of advocating for this program, but actually just measuring it. We wanted to find out what was the return on investment as economists, and we found out the returns are huge and significant. First of all, we looked at foreclosure rates. Very, very few foreclosure rates over the entire life of the program. Most of them were happening during the Great Recession when everybody else was having foreclosures at the same time. But in the past 5 years, there's only been a handful. On the other hand, homeowners have amassed a tremendous amount of equity, over an average of a decade, over $50,000 in home equity. For the county, they have, over the last 10 years, have earned over $5 million in property taxes. And people report tremendous personal gains in how they think about their lives. It's not all about just owning the home. It's about people going on a different track in life.
Get it ready here. I always wanted to own my own business. My own. I don't care if it's that big, but it's mine. An apartment, I could do it, but I cannot have it legalized to do it because you cannot do business from an apartment. I am rotating them a lot so they don't scorch. Just a little dash of salt. As you see, I'm an old-fashioned cook, a dash of this, a dash of that, blah, blah, blah. But you gotta remember your dashes. Gordo's pecans. That's the name that I started with. Ben is my official pecan taster. If I leave him alone, he'll eat them all. When I moved out the apartment, I'm more productive because I have room. This is the secret. Put it in. I have all my seasonings, and I got room for everything to set them up just the way I want it. Having a house and doing my own business really, really stepped up my game. This is what I always wanted. It took a long time to get here, but I'm here now, thank God.
I think that we live in a world now where you have opportunities to make decisions to better your life. You have to want it for yourself. You have to want it for your children. And it really takes getting the resources that you need to kind of take that step to acquire wealth and build wealth. It's information, really, and it's, again, setting goals and doing what's right for your family. So I feel like programs like the IDA program is helpful in doing that, because I would like to leave something, for my daughter when I'm no longer here.
We have a way of making sure these folks see the big picture. You know what I mean? And the big picture is financial freedom, generational wealth, and it starts with building assets.
This is my American dream, my dream, period. You like your garden?
Yes.
Good, I'm glad you like your garden.
The perception is it's quicker and easier to rent an apartment versus going to the bank and getting a loan, getting qualified, working on your credit. Like, it can deter some people from having that American dream because they feel like it may just be too much.
If you want something, go for it. Hang in there, hold it tight. Don't let it go, and don't let nobody discourage you.
Once you think you can do it, the sky's the limit from there.